You guys will not believe the story that is fastly spreading across the internet right now. A team of investigators was searching a basement. I believe it was a courthouse basement. We're going to get the specifics. And they came across a warrant that was issued for Carolyn Bryant's arrest for the murder of Emmett Till, but it was never served. And now the family is demanding that law enforcement go out and arrest Carolyn Bryant. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back to another episode with your host, Tabitha. Here is where we have some straightforward discussions on political and social news, television show recaps, and of course, everyone's favorite, celebrity gossip. These discussions are to simply chat about what's happening in the world around us. The intent is not to be mean or malicious, but to remain informed on the more serious topics and to just have a little fun discussing the craziness that surround our favorite celebrities. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation.
A fascinating turn of events. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. I am your host, your girl, Tabitha, and we talk about politics over here on this channel. Politics, what's happening socially. You know, I keep that separate from when I'm talking about the ratchet, petty stuff happening with our celebrities. This news is fascinating to me. First off, there was an arrest warrant issued. The racists back in those times never served it. So all of these years, Carolyn Bryant has lived free of consequence for the role that she played in the death of Emmett Till. And now that they have found this warrant, I'm guessing there isn't, an expiration date. The family is demanding she be arrested, and I don't blame them. I got this article. There's a few local news stations that are talking about it. I got this article from 12 News WJTV. This is fresh. I saw it over on a post that Sean King made. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go find this article. This is very interesting. Let's get into what 12 News WJTV is reporting. Jackson, Mississippi. A team searching a Mississippi courthouse basement for evidence about the lynching of Black teenager Emmett Till has found the unserved warrant charging a white woman in his 1955 kidnapping, and relatives of the victim want authorities to finally arrest her nearly 70 years later. Can you imagine? You know that saying, karma's gonna come for you? Damn. If she is arrested, it would have taken karma 70 years to get to her. But karma sure did arrive if they arrest her, right? A warrant for the arrest of Carolyn Bryant Donham, identified as Mrs. Roy Bryant on the document, was discovered last week by searchers inside a file folder that had been placed in a box. LaFleur County Circuit Clerk Elmas Stockstill told the Associated Press on Wednesday. That's today, y'all. Documents are kept inside boxes by decade, he said, but there was nothing else to indicate where the warrant dated August 29th, 1955 might have been. So I'm guessing they had some indication that there was a warrant out there for Carolyn Bryant, right? Which they have been looking for, apparently. Quote, they narrowed it down between the 50s and the 60s and got lucky. Stockstill, who certified the warrant as genuine. So they done found the warrant. They narrowed it down between the 50s and the 60s because stuff is filed by decade. And I guess he's seen the warrant and he certifies that it is a genuine warrant. The search group included members of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation and two Till relatives, cousin Deborah Watts, head of the foundation, and her daughter, Terry Watts. Relatives want authorities to use the warrant to arrest Donham, who is Carolyn Bryant, who at the time of the slaying was married to one of two white men, tried and acquitted just weeks after Till was abducted from a relative's home, killed and dumped in a river. Quote, this is the family. Serve it and charge her. End quote. Keith Beauchamp, or is it Beaucamp, whose documentary film, quote, The Untold Story of Emmett Lewis Till, end quote, preceded a renewed Justice Department probe that ended without charges in 2007, was also part of the search. He said there's enough new evidence to prosecute Donham, which is Carolyn Bryant. And remember, the Justice Department just did some type of investigation into Carolyn Bryant, came back with nothing, decided to do nothing. Donham that's Carolyn Bryant, y'all, set off the case in August 1955 by accusing the 14-year-old Till of making improper advances at a family store in Money, Mississippi. A cousin of Till who was there has said Till whistled at the woman, an act that flew in the face of Mississippi's racist social codes of the era. Now think about this. A lot of people like to tell us it happened hundreds of years ago. No, this happened in the 50s and the 60s. The warrant was dated August 29th, 1955. This didn't happen hundreds of years ago. This is recent. Evidence indicates a woman, possibly Donham, who is Bryant, y'all, identified Till to the men who later killed him. The arrest warrant against Donham was publicized at the time, but the LaFleur County Sheriff told reporters he did not want to bother the woman since she had two young children to care for. You see how these racists can have compassion and empathy with other racists, but they can't have compassion and empathy for Emmett Till's mother, who's grieving the loss of her son, who sustained a horrific death. He was more concerned about racist Carolyn Bryant, who had to raise two children, instead of having empathy and compassion for the mother of the victim. You see a lot of that going on today. White people can have compassion and empathy for other white people. But when they hear black people talking about their trauma in dealing with racism and oppression, they'll tell you to get over it. You should be lucky. Right? No empathy or compassion for a man that was murdered in the street by a police officer who's sworn to protect and serve, who knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You watched it all go down. And all you can say was he shouldn't have broke the law. A man was snuffed out horrifically. And they side with the perpetrator. They feel sorry for him because he was found guilty and has to serve time. But no sympathy, no compassion, no empathy for how George Floyd died. Ooh, child. Now in her 80s, Carolyn Bryant Donham is in her 80s and most recently living in North Carolina. Donham has not commented publicly on calls for her prosecution. What is she going to say? What are we expecting her to say publicly? She probably still feels the same way today about black people as she did back then. But Terry Watts said the Till family believes the warrant accusing Donham of kidnapping amounts to new evidence. Quote, this is what the state of Mississippi needs to go ahead, end quote. District Attorney Dwayne Richardson, whose office would prosecute a case, declined comment on the warrant, but cited a December report about the Till case from the Justice Department, which said no prosecution was possible. Why not? Why not? You actually have new evidence, which is this warrant, which means they wanted to arrest her. But the racist sheriff said, no, let's not bother her. She's got 2 kids to raise. So why not? And why are you referring to the Justice Department who made a decision on evidence that they had? They didn't have this warrant. Anything to protect their people, y'all. This is why voting is so important. This is why you need to vote people in that will fight for your interests. Contacted by the Associated Press on Wednesday, LaFleur County Sheriff Ricky Banks said, quote, this is the first time I've known about a warrant, end quote. Banks, who was 7 years old when Till was killed, said, quote, nothing was said about a warrant when a former district attorney investigated the case 5 or 6 years ago. Okay, well, there's a warrant now. There's a warrant. Quote, I will see if I can get a copy of the warrant and get with the DA and get their opinion on it, end quote. If the warrant can still be served, Banks said he would have to talk to law enforcement officers in the state where Donham, Carolyn Bryant, resides. Arrest warrants can go stale due to the passage of time and changing circumstances, and one from 1955 almost certainly wouldn't pass muster before a court, even if a sheriff agreed to serve it, said Ronald J. Reichlich, a law professor at the University of Mississippi. But combined with any new evidence, the original arrest warrant absolutely could be an important stepping stone towards establishing probable cause for a new prosecution. Quote, if you went in front of a judge, you could say once upon a time a judge determined there was probable cause and much more information is available today, end quote. Well, let's get it done. Till, who was from Chicago, was visiting relatives in Mississippi when he entered the store where Carolyn Bryant, then 21, was working on August 24th, 1955. A Till relative who was there, Willa Parker, told the Associated Press that Till whistled at the woman. Bryant testified in court that Till also grabbed her and made a lewd comment. 2 nights later, Bryant's then husband, Roy Bryant, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, showed up armed at the rural LaFleur County home of Till's great-uncle, Mose Wright, looking for the youth. Till's brutalized body, weighed down by a fan, was pulled from a river days later in another county. His mother's decision to open the casket to mourners in Chicago could see what had happened helped galvanize the building civil rights movement of the time. Mind you, civil rights that the current Supreme Court is trying to overturn. You better get your asses out there and vote. Bryant and Milam was acquitted of murder, but later admitted the killing in a magazine interview. While both men were named in the same warrant that accused Bryant of kidnapping, authorities did not pursue the case following their acquittal. Wright testified during the murder trial that a person with a voice lighter than a man's identified Till from inside a pickup truck, and the abductors took him away. Other evidence in FBI files indicates that earlier that same night, Carolyn Bryant told her husband at least 2 other black men were not the right person. What are y'all's thoughts on this? This is interesting. This is very interesting. The family is adamant about Carolyn Bryant being arrested, and I don't blame them. She was the catalyst. She was the reason. She incited her husband and the other guy to go out and search and beat Emmett Till to death. In my eyes, that's called an accomplice. So much so, even back then, they issued a warrant for her arrest. I'm with the family. Serve it. Charge her and serve it. Y'all get down in the comments. Y'all let me know your thoughts. That's all I got. I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.
Thank you for tuning in to the conversation. Make sure you subscribe and rate the episode. And to stay connected with Tabitha, head on over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Tabitha. And you can also follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All the links will be available in the More Info box. Until next time, be good to yourselves and each other.
And each other.